And we're live now.
Holy
We'll
shit,
go
people
ahead
are
and
watching.
announce it on Facebook,
Oh god.
which
Why
will
would
then go to Twitter.
why would anybody want to watch us?
All right. Again, like I've done the last couple of these, going to start off with a little disclaimer. This is the live, unedited audio. Well, recording. You get to watch us. You get the You get the behind the scenes look before I go in and cut out a whole bunch of crap and
That Wesley
uh,
says.
get rid of some of the silences and awkwardness and polish it up. And so the end product is a polished turd.
Yay.
And yeah,
Oh, there it is.
and I've got one too many windows up. Masochists, people that want to talk to us while we're going. Which is the other point. If you want to comment, you can do so right here on the YouTube video. You can try to do it on Facebook or Twitter. I'll be watching those as well a little bit, and you can interact with us live while we're going.
Yeah, I'd appreciate a couple messages or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, all right.
And so let's go ahead and do the podcast start.
Yay.
Now that we're down to 0 viewers. Uh, Welcome to another episode of Atheist Nomads. This is episode number 56. I am Dustin, and joining me as always is Wesley.
How's it going?
Going good. How about you?
Pretty decent. I'm eating prunes.
Nice. Later in the show, we will be joined by Teresa McBain. She was actually our second guest all the way back in episode 3. So if you want to check that out, go back to atheistnomads.com/3. As a warning, it was very rough. I did not know what I was doing yet. We really sucked, and the quality is brutal.
The quality of everything. Yeah, audio, our demeanor, everything. It's just horrible. But Teresa was awesome.
Yes, yeah.
And such a trooper for, well, giving us some time back then.
Yeah. Yeah. So, anything new for you, Wesley?
I took up vaping.
I've been telling you for 2 years now not to, and you go ahead and do it.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much to help support my girlfriend giving up her smoking.
Okay.
We went down to a vape shop, and she picked one up, and we were just testing out flavors. Well, she was testing out flavors. The guy was like, "Hey, you want to try?" I was like, "Well, yeah." So, uh, 30, 40 different flavors later, and I was like, "Fuck it, I'm getting one too." It's kind of fun.
Yeah, that does kind of call into question how ethical that vape shop is. There's a lot that will not sell to non-smokers.
Yeah, yeah,
Flat
yeah.
out just won't do it. Because there is the whole aspect of every time a non-smoker picks up vaping, that adds to the anti-vaping activists some validity to their arguments that it's a gateway into smoking. Granted, that's still complete bullshit because after you've tried an electronic cigarette and at least gotten used to it, cigarettes are horrible.
Cigarettes are always horrible, but this is kind of fun. And it tastes good. I'm always surrounded by a cloud of yellow cake and pralines. Yeah, some flavor called Hold'em. It's tasty and
All right, so you've been listening to the Vaping Nomads.
Yay!
Oh shit! For the calls to action with the moving of comments and feedback and supporters and calls to action to the end, I'm going to go ahead and be doing the calls to action beginning and end. That way, those who drop out midway through still get to hear it, but you also get the reminder to go ahead and do it later. And we do have one.
Those people that only listen to the interview will still get it too. Punk
If
ass.
they stick around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
punk ass.
So yeah, the one call to action we have this time is a change.org petition. By and large, I am not the biggest fan of petitions. They are not very effective if used as a petition alone. If they are part of a multi-pronged effort to make changes, they can be quite effective. And Rocco is wanting to say hello.
Hello,
Rocco, say hello.
Oh, little puppy.
Don't move the microphone. Anyway, so Linda Martin, who I would like to get on the show here pretty soon, has been working for the last 2 years, near nonstop, trying to get Idaho's faith healing exemptions removed from the books.
That would be badass.
There's currently about 3 exemptions there, and she actually has a lot of personal experience with the Followers of Christ faith healing cult local here in the Treasure Valley. She was born into that church, raised in it, and got the hell out of there at some point as an adult.
Wow.
But she is well aware of the many, many child deaths, including the 12 in the last 2 years. We're talking a group out of about 80 to 200 people, and they've had 12 children die in the last 2 years. Most of these are her relatives.
Fuck.
And so she takes it quite seriously. I've been to one of their cemeteries, walked around it, and it was absolutely horrifying. The most shocking thing to me was the centuries on those tombstones. They just seemed like they were all misprints. Those kids shouldn't have been dying at that many kids and that many young women in their teens and 20s, likely from complications around childbirth. Should not have been dying in 2005 and 2010. It seemed like it should have been 1805 or 1905, not the 21st century, not in the era of modern medicine. We're past that. We should definitely be way, way past that. But, there are these religious nut jobs who continue to sacrifice their children, because that's really what this is. It is a show of their faith to not get medical care for their children. It is something that is to do that, to kill your children, to demonstrate your faith. That would be no different than taking a knife and stabbing your child in the chest on an altar. And yet, we have laws on the books that say that parents, okay, it's not quite this explicit, but there's no exemption that says that parents cannot slit their children's throats for religious reasons.
That whole, I brought you into this world, I'll take you out of it.
Yeah, that is not permitted even in Idaho, even if it's religiously motivated. But denying your child medical care and letting that kid die, that does. That is permitted. The prosecutors, the coroners, they all want to do something about it, but they can't. Their hands are tied.
Religious medical neglect.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't get away with it for any other reason.
Nope. It is explicitly stated in the laws that failure to satisfy the state's child welfare laws has an exemption for healing by prayer alone.
Fuck. I mean, I'm all for, olive oil anointing, especially when it's on my baguettes. But don't do that shit to your fucking kids.
No. And there's a line between religious freedom and not acceptable. And our society has that line. And in a lot of places, it's in a decent place. In other places, it's not. This is no different. Same thing goes for parental rights. nobody would think that it's acceptable for a parent to neglect their child because they're strung out on meth. But if they neglect their child because of religion, oh, that's okay. It's bullshit. There are laws should not have religious exemptions, period. Doing that signs off on certain religious beliefs. This is no different than with the Hobby Lobby case. It takes certain beliefs and identifies them as being special. No other religious practices to violate child welfare laws would be considered acceptable. Starving your kid for a religious fast would not be considered acceptable under even Idaho state law. But denying your kid medical care, oh, that's fine. That is saying, the state saying and endorsing the practice of faith healing. And that is not cool.
No.
And in all practicality, it is unconstitutional. Anyway, so yes, Linda Martin has been working on this from a lot of fronts. She has been directly working with members of the state legislature to try to get the laws changed. They decided not to bring it for a vote because it's an election year.
Oh, goodness.
And they don't want to piss off the religious right in this state, which is quite powerful.
Even for the faith healer type?
Or
is it just the middle, like the middle people enabling the extremists?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Hmm.
The faith healers are not a powerful group. We're talking a couple hundred people at the most. It's the combination of this ideology, wrong word, idolatry of parental freedom and religious freedom. And viewing those, especially once you put those together. Oh no, you can't do that. You can't tell parents how to raise their kids. God damn, yes you can. You can force them to send their kids to school. You can force them to get their vaccinations to go to public school. You can force parents to feed their children.
What a novel idea.
Yeah, and there is a whole due process procedure for when parents aren't taking care of their children.
Mm-hmm.
Now, fortunately, this has been getting a lot of media attention here locally, so that should be helping raise the public awareness of this issue, and I really hope it becomes an election issue. And unfortunately, some of that media attention was sidelined by another effort that I definitely support, the Add the Words movement, trying to get the words sexual orientation and gender identity added to the Idaho Human Rights Act, because currently, if you're lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender, you have no protections in Idaho. You do in a couple cities, but that's it. And they were trying to get this added, and they took the civil obedience to extremes and kept getting arrested doing their protests, and that dominated the news cycle. And one of those arrests was on the day that it was announced that the faith healing bill would not be seeing a vote.
Goodness.
Yeah.
It's always the fucking liberals that like excuse and tolerate the moderates, and then the moderates do that for the fundamentalists, and then all that horrible shit just keeps on fucking happening.
Yeah.
Gotta put your fucking foot down sometime.
And so, yeah, with that being pushed back a session, if the trends continue, another 6 children will die. By the Speaker of the House deciding to push off that bill, he sentenced 6 kids to death. Not humane deaths, but dying of pneumonia.
Of slow, horrible, painful deaths, more than likely.
Yeah. Horrible, horrible deaths. Dying of pneumonia, infections. Shitty, shitty ways to go.
Fucking A.
And so, anyway, the link to this petition, it's just one part of a multi-prong approach to get this make sure it's on the calendar for next year and to keep everybody's eyes on it. But if all of our listeners signed that, it would definitely boost the numbers for this.
All 10 of you really need to sign.
Yeah. God damn. All right, on that note, I think it's time for history.
Oh, say it ain't so. All right. My little notes pagey thing. I'd note, since this is all getting deleted, Meredith has only had 2 cigarettes in the last 10-ish days.
God damn.
Yeah. So I think she's doing really good.
Yeah. No, when I started, I bought a pack of cigarettes to help me through that first week.
She's on 18 milligram, and it's going really well. She got a couple different flavors, and she's doing really good with it. She's trying to keep up her own standard smoke breaks, where she's not like she gets out of the office and just like she always did for a smoke, but just vapes, and she's doing really good. She was like a half a pack a day kind of girl, and other than one day where she was really fucking stressed and had 2 right at the same time, she's been vaping.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's going really well for her. I'm very, very happy.
Awesome.
And she is too. So yeah. All right. So okay. Shit, I didn't get the year for the first one. But okay.
1487.
1487. This day in history, July 24th, 1487. The citizens of Leeuwarden, Netherlands, strike against a ban on foreign beer. Oh my goodness, my kind of people. I brought this up just for me and you, really. So yeah, foreign beer is banned in Leeuwarden, Netherlands. The ban was put in place to protect sales of local suds in the city. All beer from outside of the city, including that from Friesland, the biggest city in Haarlem, was banned. But despite this, one stalwart, staunch innkeeper kept serving Haarlem's Kuyt beer, mostly because he was pressured by the other bar patrons there. Police came in to confiscate the beer, and a huge fight started. Customers fled to a little sympathetic house, and really kept on drinking. The homeowner's brother started getting support from several other towns around there, and soon after, about 8,000 people marched into Leeuwarden the next day, demanding Haarlem beer and fair trade. They were ignored, and I'm sure a few of them were drunk, but they promptly sacked the city, and the ban was soon lifted. So, yay, hooray.
Awesome. Yeah, I definitely support allowing foreign beer, even though right now I am drinking some very local beer. Saka is Powerhouse Porter.
Well, a porter, that's not an American style, is it?
Not originally, but this is handcrafted right here in Boise, Idaho.
Good old Boise.
And we got a comment on Facebook.
Uh-oh.
From Joe. Haven't been home to catch the live stream for quite a while. Glad to watch.
Fucking A. All right, so Joe, this is for you. Ah, yeah. Taste that vapey goodness. Lemon cake and pralines. Anyways, this day in history, 1959. Nixon and Khrushchev have a kitchen debate. Oddly sounding, but hey, it happened-ish. So, yeah, way back then in, the late 50s, the U.S. and Russia were trying to have, like, little bits of, like, showing off each other's, all the good benefits, positive attributes of each other's society in the other's country, and it would
Oh, bullshit.
what?
They
Huh?
were just trying to show off to each other's country.
Yeah, well,
One-upsmanship.
sure, sure, sure. Okay, I'll give you that. uh, so yeah, still, you know, Nick, Nixon. Why am I calling him Nixon? Nixon, Christian Nixon. Uh, so Nixon, Vice President Nixon, uh, served as a host for a visit by Khrushchev over here, and then they went over there. Uh, but yeah, so they're walking around this little fake house set, and they're kind of talking shit back and forth to each other, with the press, of course, surrounding them, and made things really tense for a little bit, but made for really good television and media for a while. You got Nixon saying that he was basically blaming the Russians if war broke out, and you know, look at this, we have a color TV. Ooh. And Khrushchev saying, "Oh, we'll have that in a few years," and and going back and forth, just trading barbs, and just horrible, horrible the way that they were just talking to each other, and you just don't see that anymore, and I kind of miss it.
Now, to be fair, Nixon, years later when he was president, had the policy of détente, where the U.S. and Russia cooled their relations down.
Yeah, well, yeah. Tell me about détente.
Basically, it was just the policy of trying to get along a little better. So there was numerous visits back and forth, and definitely improving their amount of communication and everything. And it was a policy that continued on quite nicely until the Soviets invaded Afghanistan.
That was 79 or 80, 81?
Yeah.
It's way late. Yeah, way later. Uh, I know that Khrushchev used to like coming over here and visiting our attractions like um, Disney World and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
uh, he seemed like a nice enough guy for all the bluster that him and Nixon had.
Mm-hmm.
I swear, I bet he put on the fucking Mickey Mouse ears when nobody was looking. Anyways, yeah, good old days of politics when they could have really blown up the world really quick. Mm. Uh, so, anyways, moving on along to one of the great moments in history in 1982. Eye of the Tiger from Rocky 3 tops the U.S. pop charts. Hey. So, yeah, it's kind of hard to fathom, but Sylvester Stallone's really been an influence on our popular culture. And, Eye of the Tiger was actually written for the movie. It's kind of sad to think, but if no Rocky 3, then, well, no Eye of the Tiger. And Survivor, man, it would have been a lot different. Anyways, yeah, Stallone, he talked to the songwriting band members, Frankie Sullivan and Jim Peterick, and he wanted something with a strong beat that would appeal to the rock crowd. What he got was a pop song, but also one of the most effective and popular soundtracks ever, really, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
It actually stayed on the top five, or excuse me, it was in the number one spot on the pop charts for 6 consecutive weeks, which is 5 weeks longer than the original Rocky theme. So, yeah, hooray. Survivor, yay. Anyways, moving on along. July 24, 2005, Lance Armstrong wins his 7th Tour de France. So, you might have heard about this guy, Lance Armstrong. Great cyclist. Turns out he was born in 1971 in Plano, Texas, and he had quite the career as a triathlete, competing professionally, starting when he was 16. Shit, he was training for the Olympics in Colorado. He won the U.S. Amateur Cycling Championship 2 years later. Uh, he never got into the Tour de France, I don't think, until 1996. But man, oh man, he he got some pain, and uh, October 1996, he found out that he had stage 3 testicular cancer, which had spread to his lungs and brain. He underwent surgery, chemotherapy, and all that good stuff. Began training in 1997. Oh, and I might add that he kind of lost one of his testes at the same time. But yeah, he came back strong. He joined the team for the U.S. Postal Service, and man, he came back stronger than ever, surprisingly enough, which everybody thought was miraculous, you might say. But yeah, boy, he actually ended up winning. I think it was the Tour de France 6 consecutive years. So holy shit! I mean, that's quite the achievement. Until you, well, find out that he was doping from, well, like the mid '90s until 2005 when he quit racing under allegations of, well, doping. So yeah, human growth hormone was and a few other things just really kind of fucked his otherwise awesome career that probably wouldn't have been nearly as spectacular.
It would have been fine if it was just testosterone.
You think
That would
so?
have been medically justifiable, considering the fact that he was down a ball.
If he was, do you think that would have been justifiable if he was bringing it up to clipping levels?
Yeah,
Hmm.
I would consider that justifiable because that would be taking him back to where he naturally would have been. And I don't think that surgery from a cancer treatment should disqualify you from sporting events, and proper treatment to maintain a normal, healthy life definitely shouldn't, because if your testosterone levels are dangerously low and you're a man, that causes horrible, horrible, horrible problems.
Well, he did admit on Oprah even that he had taken a performance-enhancing drug regimen, including testosterone, the human growth hormone, and a blood booster, EPO, and cortisone. So a blood booster, would that just be him injecting like his blood back into him? Like,
No, it would have been a drug that increases the production of blood cells,
hmm.
and or the amount of hemoglobin. And so by doing that, your body carries more oxygen, and your muscles can work more efficiently.
I've heard of people like, well, some athletes taking out a pint of blood or small amount of blood, and then like a few days or week before the whatever X event, and then putting it back into themselves to oversaturate.
I don't know that that would work, or how
Hmm.
well that would work. If
Because you're
anything, that would.
automatically increasing your your blood supply.
Yeah, but the spleen is there largely to take out your excess blood cells, have a reserve and store in case you need it.
Okay.
And if that was already full and you're just flooding the system with some extra, you would probably have to pee really bad right afterwards to drop your decrease the amount of volume in your bloodstream.
Decrease the plasma amount.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I could see that, sure, but I wouldn't. I would see where it could probably have an effect for a few hours, maybe a day, which is usually more than enough.
It would also be severely dehydrating.
Hmm.
So I don't know that it would really
Athletes are
be
always
all that.
drinking water.
It'd be a real catch-22 there.
Hmm. Well, still one nut down and bunch of enhancing drugs on the plus side.
Mm-hmm.
So still, he got spanked for it. He got all of his awards and trophies taken away, and he's been banned officially from participating in any professional racing again, which kind of sucks because pretty much all of his sponsorship and merchandising stuff dried up at the same time, of
Mm-hmm.
course. So I don't know what he's doing now, but he kind of fucked himself pretty good.
Oh yeah. I'm guessing he's probably just laying low with his millions,
Right? Yeah. Shit.
drinking margaritas on some tropical beach.
God, I would.
Yeah.
I always thought about living in Mexico on like 5,000 a year, just sitting on the beach, just staying fuckered all the time. You could do that pretty easy.
Yeah, maybe 15, 20,000 a year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Put
10,
on a little
15,000 a year.
10, sure. Definitely, you
If
could
you're
live
trying to keep
nice
track.
on 10,000. Could just kind of beach bum around on 5, 8,000, I'd figure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But nicely on 10,000. Yeah, that'd be nice.
All right. Ready for science and technology?
Let's do this.
All right. First off, we've got one from Bill Nye's organization, the Planetary Society.
Yay.
They are working on a solar sail. This is something that's been theorized for years. It even made an appearance in Deep Space Nine. And it's something that, while they've been designing it, nobody's gone ahead and just done it. And so the Planetary Society has stepped up, and they have scheduled launch for April 2016 for LightSail.
Badass.
A mission that costs a mere $4.5 million.
That is so fucking cheap.
Yeah. Well, the handy thing with a solar sail is once you're in orbit, you don't need fuel.
Which should make it a lot lighter.
Uh-huh.
Which, again, would make it much cheaper.
Yeah.
Plus, they're
So
using SpaceX, so fuck, that's cheap as hell right there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be going up on a SpaceX Falcon Heavy rocket. So they're going to be propelling it up into mid-Earth orbit instead of low Earth orbit, high enough to be away from most atmospheric drag. And then they will be unfurling the sails, which will stretch to about 32 square meters, which is actually large enough that you may be able to see it from the ground with your own eyes.
Sweet.
Yeah. The sunlight will be hitting these sails, and each photon will give them just a little bit of momentum. The theory is that it will slowly pick up speed, and they will know if it works based on whether or not they change orbital momentum. If they can increase orbital momentum, they know it works. This is just a small test, a proof of concept. So they're not going for huge changes. They're not going for something that could propel you to Pluto. But the awesome thing with solar sails, similar to what you would have with an ion drive or something along those lines, is it is continuously increasing your momentum out. And as your momentum picks up, your velocity is picking up as well, and you just go faster and faster and faster and faster. Really slow start, but you eventually get there.
I always heard that they've talked about getting solar sails where they have like a forward shooting ion or photon gun cannon, whatever you want to call it, that shot that stuff into the sail to help propel it.
That is one idea with it. It would be to have a laser in orbit around the sun
Hmm.
that could provide additional directional shots for a scenario where maybe the sun's a little bit lower. They really just want to get some more power going. And so, with something like that, even just a solar collector and focuser, a giant lens could conceivably do it, properly designed. Just focus
Properly
10
aimed.
times as much sunlight into a single beam and blast it.
Yeah.
Just don't
Okay.
hit Earth, or you might catch something on fire.
Turn us into the ants in the crazy little kid science thing. Where he's like bumping ants with the magnifying glass. Yeah. I could see that being a bad thing.
Yeah.
Still, that's pretty cool.
Sticking with space, Voyager 1 has been hit by a third solar tsunami.
Shit.
This little probe has been traveling for 37 years.
Poor little
Launched in
Voyager.
1977. And these tsunamis that are hitting it are they're caused by mass ejections from the sun, and they take about a year to get out to where Voyager is because it is so freaking far out there. And they hit the intersolar plasma and ring it like a bell. So basically, you've got this field of plasma. Yeah, you just hit it with this extra energy, the shockwave, and it sings. And so Voyager's able to pick this up with its cosmic ray and plasma wave instruments. They had measuring things like this in mind when they launched it so many years ago. And so, yes, this very, very much confirms that it is most definitely well outside of our solar system. It is voyaging out in interstellar space.
Poor little Voyager.
Now, an interesting side note there, Voyager from Star Trek The Motion Picture was Voyager 6, a space mission that at the time they made that movie was proposed but never happened.
I never picked up on that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And then in, I think it was The Undiscovered Country, the Klingons destroy I think it was Voyager 5. By that point, it's way, way out there, and just for a little bit of fun, they just blast it out of to smithereens. You can't blast something out of space; it's already in space. So yeah, they're having fun with that in those early Star Trek movies. And so yeah, moving on to a story a little bit closer to home for me. Yellowstone National Park has numerous areas that are closed right now. The initial closure was on just a little side road near some of the hot springs. Well, now they've had to shut down the road between Old Faithful and Madison Junction. If you're not familiar with where that is, as you come in Yellowstone from the west, from West Yellowstone, Montana, Madison Junction's that first main spot you see and an awesome place to camp. And from there, you can go out to, well, any part of the park. You just can't go south down to Old Faithful anymore. You'd have to go all the way around and come back. They have had to close off numerous areas from hikers because of how hot it's getting there. And, oh, yes, these closures are because the roads are melting. I think I might have missed that detail.
Oh, shit.
Hitting about 160 degrees Fahrenheit.
Fuck.
Yeah, that's enough to make it so that the asphalt is Um,
The tar is
well,
melting, and
yeah, it
ooh.
turns into soup. And the gravel road that did this, it turned it into oatmeal.
Here's an interesting tidbit in there. Late last year, geologists discovered that the supervolcano was more than twice as large as previously thought.
Hmm.
Yeah. University of Utah's James Farrell told National Geographic that it's not that it's getting any bigger, it's just that we can actually, our ability to see it is getting better. So,
Yeah.
oh shit, that's scary.
Yes, Yellowstone hasn't erupted in the last 640,000 years,
Fair piece.
but it is a, well, very massive supervolcano in the magnitude of burying everything from the roughly the Pacific coast to the Appalachians in about 20 feet of ash.
So, do they think that
Uh,
that actually used to be like a cone volcano and
it probably
pretty
was
much
at one
laid
point.
flat?
It would have
It,
been a long time ago, but yeah.
fuck.
It's a big enough one that a supermassive eruption from it, a full eruption, uh, would probably black out the sun for 3 to 5 years
Let's hope it just
worldwide.
let's hope it just burps little bits.
Well, that's what the geysers are. It's a
Sure.
continuously active volcano. There are geological changes that happen there all the time. There's earthquakes there nearly continuously. There are mountains that show up that weren't there before. Lakes move around as pockets of magma push the ground up. The geysers are all caused by snow water filling into little caverns in the ground and then getting boiled by the magma.
Mm-hmm.
These roads are being melted by the freaking magma. Either it's getting it's getting hotter right by the surface, or the surface is thinning. They aren't exactly sure what's going on yet, but it's pretty crazy. And
Fucking.
I did actually, considering I am close enough to Yellowstone that I would probably die within a couple hours of eruption. I
Yeah.
would be like instantly vaporized as being buried in very hot ash. It'd be a relatively quick death. I personally think that would be far preferable to being about half of the population that starves from the volcanic winter over the course of the next 5 years. Uh, Burned alive versus starving. Yeah, I think being burned alive would probably be better.
Oh,
But there's an even better silver lining I have thought of with Yellowstone. The Adventist Church is closing down its East Coast publishing, the Review and Herald Publishing Association, and merging it in with Pacific Press in Nampa, Idaho. So all Adventist publishing will be in one spot that would be vaporized by Yellowstone, and the Mormon Church would be vaporized by Yellowstone.
hmm. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, Space Jesus and Space Satan would be gone in a split in a couple hours.
Hmm.
I could live with that. And then I could live on like fucking Mad Max style. Just yeah. Seattle,
Yeah.
yeah. I'd probably be safe behind the mountains for a little while.
Maybe.
Hmm.
Maybe.
Depends on
Worst
which way
case
the wind
scenario,
blows.
go scuba diving.
Well, I'm like 300 feet away from the water, so yeah. Anyways,
Oh, you'd get steamed
it
like
depends
a
on which way
lobster.
the wind's blowing, man.
Yeah. All right, and then finally for science and technology, we've got a story out of Ohio where the
Hmm.
Amish, facing an insanely massive measles outbreak, has started getting vaccinations.
Holy shit.
Yeah, they never had any outright objection to vaccination. It wasn't anything they ever bothered starting, and they don't send their kids to public schools, so they were never required to for schools. So yeah, they uh, have just avoided it, more just out of apathy. And so what ended up happening was this is back in April. Amish woman called up the Knox County Health Department and reported that both she and the family next door had the measles. And so then a nurse went to take a look, and they collected samples. They got nasal swabs and blood specimens, and also identified the symptoms, even though this nurse had never seen measles.
Right.
What she told PBS was the rash. They had the conjunctivitis in the eyes. Their eyes were red. They didn't want the light. They sit in the darkened room, wear dark glasses. I mean, they were just miserable. High temperatures, 103, 104 temps. So this was the measles.
Man, Ohio has the majority of the measles cases in the U.S. with 341 confirmed and 8 hospitalizations. What the fuck?
And the Amish communities there, well, until then, they weren't going in and getting checked out. So who knows how many unconfirmed cases there were? And so the health department's been working with the CDC, and they set up a clinic by mid-June in a store that normally sells construction supplies. And ever since, there has been a line of buggies outside the door.
Oh man, I really need to tell my government people to set their contrails to, add in a measles inoculation.
And so yeah, all these barefoot kids coming on in and getting shot up.
And there's a picture with this story too, and there's 4 little barefoot kids riding on a buggy, and 2 of them are drinking mug root beer. Found that odd.
I missed that detail.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So there goes their shunning of society.
Well, at the very least, they will, be able to survive longer to continue shunning society.
Fuck.
Alrighty, now it's time for politics and religion. We're going to start off with Texas Senator Ted Cruz.
The junior senator. Fucking.
I still can't believe that this guy got elected. I know the bar is really low for Texas. Ooh. Where if you can read and if you can kind of talk good, you
still have to brush your teeth.
Oh man. Anyway, he has been going around for a while now trying to convince the religious that Rocco is coming up to say hello again.
Oh, hey, puppy. Well, it's okay. He's not actually from from Texas. He's actually from Canada.
Yeah. Anyway, he's been trying to convince people that the Democrats are trying to repeal the First Amendment. That they are fighting freedom of religion. And his latest bit of bullshit to support this is the bill we talked about last time that was sponsored by Patty Murray and Mark Udall. The bill that has since been filibustered by 43 Republican senators. Not all of them, but enough of them, including Ted Cruz, claiming that with this bill they're trying to overturn the Hobby Lobby ruling. And quoting from Ted Cruz, the bill that is being voted on this floor, if it were adopted, would fine the Little Sisters of the Poor millions of dollars unless these Catholic nuns are willing to pay for abortion-producing drugs for others. He's claiming that later said, Mr. President, when did the Democratic Party declare war on the Catholic Church? I think that's a good question because they haven't. He thinks that they're going to go after, if this law were to pass, that they would be going after nuns, trying to force them to provide these horrible, horrible, sinful drugs. No, they won't. In fact, the insurance company that covers them, the Christian Brothers Employee Benefit Trust, is already exempted from the contraceptive mandate.
Well, all religious organizations, churches, whatever, have always had their religious exemptions. But, I mean, Ted Cruz is talking about, everybody, having a war against the Catholics. Most people in this country are religious. Why do the Catholics get to have a war against everybody else?
Yeah.
Fuck.
It's... yeah. Anyway, we'll get to the real solution to this whole fucking insanity here in a couple more stories. Louisiana, their leading Republican candidate to challenge Senator... crap, her name was right here. Mary Landrieu has... in the up to this point, he has been a huge proponent of a huge proponent of abstinence-only sexual education. He's a physician, so he really should know better. But he had to announce that he's going to be a grandpa. In the statement he gave the Times Picayune, local paper down there in the Bayou. Earlier this year, Laura and I learned that we will become grandparents this summer. Our children have been the greatest blessing of our lives, and we welcome our grandchild as a joyous addition to our family. Our daughter now faces a more challenging future than her peers. She has our unconditional love and support. If she'd had access to contraceptives and actually learned how sex works and how to avoid having a baby, she wouldn't be pregnant.
Or if those actual abstinence-only classes that I'm sure that her parents made sure she got in church actually worked, again, she wouldn't be pregnant. Yeah. So yeah, the statement turns out to be very similar to the one that our good friend Sarah Palin released in about 2008 with her then 17-year-old unmarried daughter, Bristol.
Mm-hmm.
But
this actually kind of reminds me of a story my dad told me about when my stepsister was going to the Adventist school I later went to. Got to sex ed class, or that portion of the high school health class, and one parent objected to the fact that they were going to be teaching about condoms and the pill.
Oh my goodness.
Well, Adventists, yeah, they don't have an issue with contraceptives at all. They're also officially pro-choice as far as abortion goes. Most are opposed to abortion, but few actually oppose access to it. And so, yeah, it was the school, following basic standard practice, would be providing comprehensive sex education. Granted, it would be put in terms of these sexually transmitted infections can cause horrible, horrible things. Very true. They can be prevented with condoms. True. Or at least the chances of getting them decreased. And here's stuff you can use to put off having a kid when you do get married and start having sex. It's about how it was put for my class. Um, but so this one guy objected wholeheartedly with it. The plan at that point, they were bringing in a nurse to talk about sex, and he did not allow her to attend. About 2 years later, she got pregnant at about 16.
I'm not saying that's funny, but well, that's funny.
Yeah, sucks for her, but that's what happens when you don't tell people of sexual maturity how to avoid having babies. Which brings us to Colorado. 5 years ago, they started a plan. This was all privately funded um, to allow 68 clinics around the state um, to provide free long-term contraceptives, the IUD, implants, the implantable hormonal contraceptives, stuff along those lines, and free of charge for low-income women. They didn't require parental consent for minors,
Hmm.
and what they found was awesome. Between 2009 and 2012, there was a 35% reduction in teen abortions in those counties and a 40% reduction in teen pregnancy.
Sounds about right. If you're on the
Even
pill or
better,
whatever, you're not going to have an abortion.
it saved Colorado $42.5 million in just 2010. Not over the entire course of the program, in just 1 year.
Governor, I'm sure, is quite happy with that.
Oh, yes, he is.
Hmm.
This is what they found. These savings were coming from the WIC program and other funds that would have been helping take care of these low income women once they had a baby. And as it turns out, contraceptives are cheaper than babies. And no matter how you look at it, contraceptives are better than free.
Governor actually released a press statement, which I see as a very positive thing. He said, "This initiative has saved Colorado millions of dollars, but more importantly, has helped thousands of young Colorado women continue their education, pursue their professional goals, and postpone pregnancy until they are ready to start a family."
Mm-hmm.
How is that not just like that? That is the epitome of empowering women, giving them
Mm-hmm.
control of their birth cycle. If they want to have a kid, great. If they don't want to have a kid and they want to, you know, actually build a good life for themselves, badass.
Yeah.
This is so awesome.
Yeah. From with even just that goal, uh, anything to make it easier to get access to contraceptives is well worth it. And one thing the Supreme Court left open in the Hobby Lobby case was the possibility of the federal government just paying for contraceptives directly. And realistically, looking
Fucking
at the
do
numbers
it.
out of Colorado, it would save the federal government money to do that. And it would shut up all of these stupid lawsuits from people trying to claim that it's hurting their religious liberty.
Yeah, fuck them all. I'm fine with that. I would love to have another government agency do this. Fine, fuck it. Make a new one. I'm fine with that.
Just run it through Medicare or Medicaid. We already have agencies in existence for it.
Or just fund the fuck out of Planned Parenthood and just overstock all of their shit. And I mean, they already have the network out there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh goodness, wouldn't that be awesome? Like
Yeah.
the fucking the health department. Every county has one.
Yeah.
More, fuck it, use that. Oh, wouldn't
Yeah.
that be amazing? And
Or
then use all the extra money to help fund stuff like Pell Grants, or the idea of like giving grants to go to school.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Think about the amazing surge our country would have
Yeah, take that money and use it to create grants for single moms that are on welfare.
for anybody. Fuck it. But
Yeah, one of the
yeah,
best things we could do to reform welfare, uh, other than help the women that are getting on those programs, because most welfare is single moms. Um, Help them keep from having more babies, and help them get an education, even if it's just free community college. That would be enough to help get them off of welfare. There are so many things that can be done that, yeah, at first it might cost a little bit of extra money, but in the long run, it will save our society so much and will cause amazing booms. On that note, the wonderful state of Iraq that we liberated from, well, I'm
nothing.
not quite sure what now.
Not a damn thing.
The organization that was formerly known as ISIS, then known as ISIL, and now known as the Islamic State, has threatened to follow good, proper Islamic law in dealing with the Christians of Iraq. We're talking something in the ballpark of 5 to 10% of the population.
Hmm.
And so, yes, they are instituting full Islamic law towards them. The jizya,
Jizya. I don't know.
they can either convert, pay a tax, or face a death penalty.
Really, they're going to bring back the tax?
Yeah,
Wow.
that is
Uh,
something that is explicitly commanded in the Quran.
was that the kafir tax?
Not quite
I
sure on
think
the
that was the
exact
tax that
name
the
for it.
Jews had to pay to live in the Muslim societies.
It was the same tax for Christians and Jews.
Yeah.
They're considered in the Quran as people of the book. They are, they follow the same God and they just do it wrong. And so they aren't supposed to be executed or forced to convert at the sword. But if they don't convert, they just get taxed.
No, that's fair-ish enough, I guess. It's better than death.
But it'd be more fair to just let them live their lives. The Islamic State is an organization that seeks to create a caliphate that covers, at a minimum, everything from Israel to Iraq. And it's looking like their goal might be going up, might be the entire Islamic world, create a grand unified caliphate under very strict Sharia law. And so they're trying to get those damn Christians under control right now. However, the Christians, along with a whole bunch of other people, have already fled. They
Oh,
haven't gotten any responses to this order, and the Christian leaders they ordered to come to a meeting haven't shown up because they aren't there. When they saw the Islamic State coming, they, right along with the Iraqi army, ran away. They
I
didn't
just
want to get executed.
I just wikied the population of Iraq, and they're saying it's about 32 million. So yeah, if we're talking about up to 10% of the country, that's 3.2 million people. That's no small group of people.
Hmm.
Fuck.
Now, they did the same thing in Syria and the areas they control, and have actually posted order or pictures of Christians they crucified for disobeying them.
Right, right. They deserved it somehow.
Oh man, if this is bad, This is very, very bad. Um, I kind of hate to say this, but the Christian right, who think that the minority is trying to persecute them by taking away their privilege, they need to take a look at what's going on in Iraq and Syria right now. That is true persecution.
Exactly.
That is what persecution looks like. Being asked to not alienate people at government meetings or not have everybody's tax money go to support your church, or people trying to take away tax exemptions that your church has gotten that nobody else gets, that's not persecution. Getting special taxes because you're a Christian, yes, that's persecution. Being threatened with death for being a Christian, that's persecution. Very, very wrong. Yeah. All right, so bring it back to the U.S. A church in Kentucky, the New Gospel Outreach Church, guessing probably vaguely Baptist or non-denominational, had recently hired a pastor that they already knew was a registered violent sex offender.
Uh, Against children.
Yes. And now he's facing charges of repeatedly raping a 14-year-old boy in their church.
Yeah. Just because God forgave you doesn't mean that you just ignore the shit. What the fuck? I mean, background checks, that they're there for a reason. They found out about this. They knew about it. The dude admitted it. And they're like, yeah, fuck it. God forgave you. Who are we to judge?
Mm-hmm. That's just
all you.
so wrong. If you look at the data, there is something like 5% of the population looks at children that way, has those thoughts. A very much smaller percentage actually does it. And those who do are very likely to repeat. There is a lot of evidence out there that sex offenders have a very high chance of repeating their offenses. And to put a convicted sex offender in a position where he has routine power over children is beyond wrong.
Yeah.
It's unthinkable. Now, I posted this to Facebook, and one of my friends on there from college, Pastor Nathan Hellman, he is a pastor of one of the Adventist churches I worked with one summer when I was in college. His comment, because I had just said this is ridiculous. He replied very quickly, beyond ridiculous, this is appalling. The church is going to face a hefty lawsuit after you knowingly put a sex offender in a position of power, and rightly so. This is willing ignorance and endangerment. And when I asked if I could quote him, he said it wasn't a problem. I let him know that periodically we do try to point out examples of ethical, sane, religious people, since most of the pastors we cover are real asses or doing very horrible things, like this motherfucker. Actually, it would have been a lot better if he was a motherfucker, this child fucker. And I was very happy to see him say, just as I like to point out examples of sane, ethical, non-religious people to help people realize that acts of love, kindness, charity, mercy, etc., are not attributes that religious people have a monopoly on. I'm sorry that there is so much darkness which comes from places that should be beacons of goodness. There are good people out there who aren't religious, and then there are kitty fuckers.
I've always thought that people are going to do good whether or not they have religion in their life. That's they're going to do bad whether or not they have religion in their life. There's no. I don't know. This is just so fucked up. Nathan seems like a pretty level-headed guy, and so
Mm-hmm.
appreciate his comments. But, man, oh man, oh man. This story just hurts, man.
Yeah. Anyway, we got some live feedback from Virginia Dawn.
Oh,
Happy to finally get to see y'all. And you guys are just as handsome as I thought you'd be.
I appreciate it, and your check's in the mail.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. And I got a haircut. Hey. I've been looking kind of grungy, and I had like a 3-4 inch beard going for like a few months. It was kind of crazy. So yeah, you see me all cleaned up and shit. Thanks for
bring the beard back.
Dude, it was so fucking hot. It's been torturous the last couple months.
Oh yeah, the humidity.
Oh, dude, fucking Seattle, Bremerton, we've had like high 90s for the last week and a half or so.
And it's muggy there. I found the difference 7 years ago when I was grew out a beard in Jordan. It was
gonna say it's a dry heat.
It was dry, and it was really hot and bone dry, and my beard actually felt refreshing and cooling. It holds the moisture to your skin longer, so it cools you off. Well, then I went down to southern Mexico where it was very muggy, and it was like I had a hot, wet blanket on my face.
Yep.
Yeah.
It had to go.
Yeah, it's been high 90s, low hundreds here the last week and a half, and the beard has been quite nice.
That's cool.
Alrighty, and finally for the news, we've got some research that came out of Harvard, published in the journal Cognitive Science. They took a look at a group of 5 to 6 year old children, 66 of them, and they asked them stories, or asked them questions about stories. They took some from fairy tales and some from the Old Testament.
Other sorts of fairy tales.
Yeah, basically, yeah, lots of different fairy tales. And what they were expecting was that the children that came from non-religious homes would identify them all as fiction, and that the children raised in religious homes would only identify the biblical stories as nonfiction and view the fairy tales as fiction.
I have a bad feeling about this.
What they actually found, the non-religious kids viewed all of them as fairy tales and the characters as fictitious, correctly identified it.
Okay.
The religious kids believed all the Old Testament stories to be real, and also many of the fairy tales.
Fucking Santa, Jack and the Beanstalk, fucking Three Little Pigs, whatever. Okay.
Yeah. They put it that it was kind of like being incapable of differentiating between Tom Sawyer and George Washington.
Ooh. Or the Tooth Fairy and Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah.
But one of those might have been real.
Previous studies thought that children were just born believers, that they would all be credulous to extraordinary beings with superhuman powers. Instead, what they found is that if you're told by adults that you trust that crazy, implausible things really happened, they're going to have a hard time identifying what was crazy and implausible and what wasn't.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
If you're lying to your kids, knowingly or unknowingly, doesn't matter. They're gonna believe you because you're an adult, you're an authority figure, you're the one that they're supposed to trust.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Yeah. And quoting from the article, the researchers determined that religious teaching, especially exposure to miracle stories, leads children to a more generic receptivity towards the impossible, that is, a more wide-ranging acceptance that the impossible can happen in defiance of ordinary causal relations.
Yeah, if you're reading a book or being told about a book about a super magical creature and it does all these miracles or these awesome things, and then you see these stories that are teaching the same damn thing about, fairies or whatever, I'm like, what's the difference? Must be real too. Man, no wonder these kids are growing up to like just be so weird.
Yeah. Alrighty. On that note, that's it for the news.
We should announce that we'll be talking with Teresa on
Wednesday now.
Wednesday at what time?
6:30 Mountain
and 4:30 Pacific.
That'd be 5:30 Pacific.
I don't even know the time. Okay. 5:30 Pacific. Okay.
7:30 Central. 12:30 in the morning if you're in UTC. Universal Time Coordinated.
You're talking about Greenwich Mean Time? But yeah, just after midnight, 12:30 a.m.
Greenwich Mean Time is a standard that was retired about 40 years ago.
I don't care. I still
and replaced by Universal Time Coordinated.
It's still the same thing, isn't it?
It's just not called that anymore. Bucky,
right.
Quiet. I'm recording.
Bucky!
If you want something to chew on something else. Heck, Bucky, you're big enough you could take it from Rocco.
Bucky, you weigh like 5 times as much as Rocco. Take it. Take it.
So, yeah, anyway, and for those listening to the podcast in the edited normal version of it, oh yeah, we just put in the interview. All right, let's go ahead and move on to feedback and the like.
Oh yeah, we've had a couple good emails this week.
Yes.
Yeah.
So first we've got Gwen, and yeah, these are both via email. We had a little bit of an exchange there. I'll just read her messages and we'll talk about them in between. In your most recent podcast, you called Plan B the abortion pill. These are actually 2 separate things. Please don't confuse them. Plan B prevents pregnancy after having unprotected sex. The actual abortion pill is something different, which one takes after one is pregnant to terminate an existing pregnancy. The context of that was when we were talking about the Wheaton College case. And no, it wasn't the Wheaton College one. It was the context is when we were talking about Hobby Lobby's hypocrisy and how they invest in companies that produce actual abortion drugs and the company that produces Plan B. And when I said Plan B, Wesley sarcastically said the abortion drug pill.
Yeah. I just want to point out, yeah, everything's good and smoothed over. It was me being sarcastic. I sent her a quick note back saying I promise, as I recall, I said that completely sarcastically. Yeah. Hobby Lobby and their ilk think that all birth control pills, IUD, any other BC drug or device, basically the same as Misprostol and Misprostosol. Basically, the two that are actually the abortion pill, as people like to think of them.
Go ahead.
I really appreciated the feedback and we like the show, but yeah, she turns out to be a fan, and she might have actually been doing a little drunk listening to our
Yes.
show.
That is encouraged. I know
But-
I'm drinking when recording the show. It's encouraged for you to be drinking as well when you're listening,
Exactly.
unless you're driving or at work.
Or me.
Or Wesley, yeah. But you know, especially the sarcasm is something that definitely does happen. Wesley is far more sarcastic than I am, and you're especially going to find it in stories where it seems to us to be so incredibly obviously wrong that we can try to have a little bit of fun with it. Is like in the Wheaton College story when we were talking about that. I said something called women that use contraceptives dirty little sluts. I don't think women who use contraceptives are dirty little sluts. They do.
Yeah, when my exasperation level just like fucking explodes and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? That's when my sarcasm really comes out.
And you know, we will sometimes use that language to help make the point, use the type of language they would be using to point out how incredibly absurd it is. You know, there is a decent amount of especially Wesley's sarcasm, mine as well sometimes, that just goes so far and too far, and in editing, it just sounds to me like it's something that would be most likely and very reasonably misunderstood, and I delete those. If it's one where the context seems very clear, where I think the likelihood of it being misunderstood is slim, I leave it in. This was one of those I thought seemed clear enough, but sorry that it pissed you off. I guess
well, she re-listened and like, yeah, my bad. It's all good.
the wound was a bit fresh on that one.
Yeah. It's all good.
Yeah. And so next we have Al in Canada. Love the show. Good job with the Dave Silverman interview. He's awesome. Keep pushing. Funnily enough, I have had some problems with Hillsborough too. While I was in university in Scotland, I was a not very good DJ. It was before you had to do too much, just beat mix. As a young politically active student, we would use news photos and phrases to make comment on current issues. At the height of apartheid, we used a news photo of black South African children pushing against the fence that segregated them from the luxury, and plenty of white South Africa with the phrase, "keep pushing." A few days later, I got a call from a national paper to discuss my outrageous poster. Clearly, the reporter had made his mind up and was hot on the trail of some terrible person who was mocking the dead soccer fans.
Obviously.
It was also clear he had not looked carefully at the photo. I was delightfully rude to him as I explained only an idiot would mistake semi-naked black South African children from English soccer fans, and that as issues go, apartheid was a bigger problem than that stadium crowd control, and that it was a ludicrous stretch to think of Hillsborough. The article never made it to press. Also, Hillsborough with an S. Oh, yeah. I was maybe rethinking reading this part. Also, Hillsborough with an S, Graham, has an H in it, just like you pronounced it better than nearly all Americans and Canadians who almost always say Graham, G-R-A-M. So well done, you guys set the bar high again. You just drag it out a little bit. A little bit of a glottal pause. It's Graham as opposed to Graham. You just drag it out a little.
Crackers.
Yeah. And finally, the final report into the Hillsborough disaster was only finished this year, so it is in some respects a current news story, unlike when I made my poster. I, too, was always confused with the sports ball fighting thing, and we had way too much of it when I was growing up in Scotland.
Sports, go sports ball. Yay.
Yeah. Anyway, if you want to get in touch with us, you can always email us at contact@atheistnomads.com, or you can call us at 541-203-0666. And when we do a live show, you can comment on the YouTube video or Facebook or Twitter, and we will get those. And if you're wanting to find out when we are going to be doing a live recording, since there is no set schedule on those, or set frequency on those, watch Facebook and Twitter.
Oh, I have a special announcement to make.
Okay.
I am now part of the Fantasy Football League of Sinister Secularists.
Mm-hmm.
Started up by No Illusions from the Scathing Atheist. There's quite a few people in there from some awesome podcasts, and so I will represent us as best I can, which will be poorly. Go Sports Ball.
Yeah. And I have to apologize for the background noise right now. Bucky did successfully get the antler from Rocco, and
Yay!
he's much louder when chewing on that.
I don't hear it at all. It's all right.
Yeah. If it wasn't the end of the show, I'd be kicking them out right now. Yeah, so moving on to supporters, we did get a new patron, Kevin, in what I have now dubbed the Kick-Ass sponsor level, or Kick-Ass patron level. $1 per episode.
Hey, every bit helps, man. So
Yes.
much thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it.
And yeah, if every listener gave us $1 an episode,
I would quit my job.
it'd be awesome.
Yep. We could do
Yeah.
this full time. We could do a show a week. Oh yeah. $1 an episode. If we if we could get 500 an epised. Oh, we are nowhere near that. We could sure use some help. Just anything. Yeah, seriously. I'd love to get some soundproofing going on in here.
Yeah.
Sound dampening. But yeah, hey. Anyways, I'm horrible at begging, so yeah, if you want to kick us a couple bucks, that'd be fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Then we could if we got 500 episode, I would post up pictures of strippers and me snorting coke off their ass. I promise. Do it for the show. Do it for the children. Come on, you want to.
And anyway, I do want to remind you of the call to action. It's a quick, simple, easy change.org petition. Sign it, share it everywhere. Let's get as many people to sign that to make it clear to the Idaho state government that people do actually care about this and that it's time to stop sacrificing children. Time to stop letting those... Sorry. Makes me really angry that it's going on so fucking close to my home.
Yeah. We need to have her on too.
Yes.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I will be definitely getting her on the show here soon. Her life has been pretty crazy recently, so when she's got a nice calm moment.
And fuck it. Let's spill some beans on the live show, which nobody else will know. We should be having Hemant on pretty soon, yeah?
Yeah.
George? Geo?
Nothing I'm aware of. I don't have any contact information for him.
Okay. I know that's something that Jonathan was talking about. But, yeah, we still got some great people coming up. Everybody's great in their own way. And Teresa's going to be fucking awesome. Because it's fucking Teresa.
Yes.
I miss her. She's awesome. So, anyways, yeah. If you have any show ideas for us, any guests, give them our info. Give us their info. All that shit. Let's make it happen. Talk some bullshit with people.
Yeah.
Anyways, time to get.
Yes, it is. I'm head camping here in a little bit.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right.
So, alrighty. That's the show.
Right.
Thanks for listening.
I'll send mine to drive in about 5 minutes.